This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe from hackers. For example, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries, streaming services such as DAZN in Spain for those all-important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe if you use public Wi-Fi, such as a college or a cafe. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning that you can even share an account with friends and family. On top of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can even get your money back. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for just over €2 per month and up to 4 months free. Why not scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to take advantage of this offer. What is up, my friends? How are we? You are very welcome along to Sunday night's late night agenda. After the Reds' 1-0 victory against Nottingham Forest, I thought I'd come back on so we can have a proper chat about the game, what to do moving forward, what we basically think of where we are right now and how the boys are playing. So as always, ladies and gentlemen, your thoughts very much welcome in the comments section. If you enjoyed the stream, don't forget to hit that like button, and of course we'd love you to subscribe. But the question that we wanted to kick off tonight with the first poll of the night is, should Rio Ingamoa start against West Ham? Jamie Carragher certainly believes that Rio should be getting more minutes and praised him highly and deservedly for his cameo off the bench today. Really was a positive impact young Rio had. Obviously the goal for Maka, the first one, was ruled out, but again you could see the setup work there from young Rio Ingamoa. So I think he should be getting more minutes. Do I think he should be starting against West Ham? You bet your ass I do. So for me it's 100% yes, but I want to know what you guys think, so let's get stuck into it. We've got a couple of interesting stats to bring you through for tonight as well. We're going to be talking about 90th minute winners since the start of the Premier League. We're going to be discussing a little bit with Harvey Elliott, who had a lovely little moment on social media praising Rio Ingamoa. We'll talk about Nico Schlotterbeck. We'll have a little look at the fixtures coming up as well, of who we have left to play and what we think will happen. We'll be talking about the situation with Elliot Anderson, as Moby Hake reckons he's the one that Liverpool should be looking at in the summer. And of course, we have lots more to go through as well. So, loads to unpick there, as I said, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just start off with, I guess, give you some context to the stream title tonight, because you're probably coming in expecting me to just have a rant at the manager or something like that, and that's not where I'm going to go with this one. But what I do mean is we can't continue to be this predictable up top. I was looking back through some of the stats this season for Mohamed Salah, and we'll talk about Cody Gakpo as well. We just don't have enough energy in the front line for me, enough pace. Mohamed Salah has more than enough credit in the bank to have a few poor games. There's no issue with that. But he hasn't scored in 9 Premier League games now. And I had a little look back. He's got 2 in his last 15 in the Premier League. So the drop-off has been immense from last season. But he's not on his own. I'm not trying to single out Mo for criticism, but Cody Gakpo as well just hasn't been at the levels you would have expected this season. Now, I've given you my perspective on this. I think that the fact we don't have Diaz there has kind of shone a bit of a more critical light on Cody Gakpo, because, well, we don't have the ability to mix it up when it isn't working with Cody. But we see now that Rio Ingamoa is ready and he should be getting more minutes. So I wanted to talk about both the wide players tonight. So whether you want to make a comment about Salah or Gakpo, have at it, because I want to discuss the problems there. I want to talk about the middle of the park as well. I'm not really overly pleased with what I've seen from Ryan Gravenberch lately. Alexis McAllister, although he scored today, I didn't think he had a particularly good game. And the only people I want to actually come in for praise now from me are the backline. I think we've defended very well recently. And I also want to give Arna a bit of credit for the set pieces. There has been a clear betterment, or a clear increase in their level at set piece defending and in attack. And I want to just give some credit for that as well. So it's not all going to be negative tonight. But make no mistake, that wasn't a good result or a good performance earlier on. The result is brilliant and we'll take it. But the performance left a lot to be desired, particularly that first half, which many Reds that I've seen have described as the worst first half of football this season. And, you know, let me know if you agree with that statement in the comments. So, Lunax, he said, just glad we scraped the win. Definitely, mate. There is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Being happy about picking up the 3 points. You know, I said before the game, during the game, and after the game, today was about getting the win. And we did. Now, did we deserve to win? Probably not. But we got it, and we'll take it, and we'll run with it. But we have to be better than this. We're not going to win a Champions League this season playing the quality we played at today. And there's no real excuse for it. You know, we had 8 days to prepare for the game today, and that's what we showed up like. If we dare show up like that away in the Champions League against one of the top sides in Europe, we'll be put to the sword. So, wanted to talk about that tonight as well. Let me just run through really quickly the remaining games. Anfield Sector posted up all of our remaining games with a picture of the league table. West Ham at home, Wolves away, Spurs at home, Brighton away, Fulham at home, Everton away, Palace home, United away, Chelsea at home, Villa away, Brentford at home. So the last 4 games there, going to be difficult enough fixtures. Don't know what Brentford will have to play for at that point. But Aston Villa, Chelsea, Manchester United, I'd like to have us having a bit of a cushion in the top 5 race going into those last few games. But West Ham, that's winnable. Wolves away, that's winnable. Spurs at home, that's winnable. Brighton away, that could be a tricky enough game. It's a 12:30 kick-off, so I'm nervy about that one. Fulham at home, I would back us to beat them. Away from home, Fulham have given us some problems. Everton away, I don't really know what to expect at the Hill Dickinson, to be honest with you. So I want us to start putting up points, and today was the start of that. We got the 3 points that we wanted, but, you know, it's a lot easier to come on and talk about a poor performance after you've picked up the points rather than trying to figure out how we claw back the season. But what I meant by the title is the rubbish can continue. The way we are in the wide positions, it is rubbish and it can continue. And that lack of pace will cost us. Now, Carragher is saying again that we're wide open and Liverpool can't cope with end-to-end games of football in the Prem. I want to give you a quick quote from him. He said that the victory was one of the biggest robberies of the Premier League season after what he called the first half a horror show in which Liverpool were totally outplayed, struggling to adapt to the loss of Florian Wirtz before kickoff. And then he went on to talk about Liverpool not being suited to end-to-end games in the Premier League. So there's a lot to unpack there from Jamie Carragher, but was it the biggest robbery of the season? I think that's probably a stretch. You know, it's not like Nottingham Forest were peppering our goal with shots. They had the better of the first half by a long way, but they did very little in the final third to really justify it being a robbery. You could say they were maybe entitled to a point from the game or maybe deserved a point from it, but you know, you don't always get what you deserve in footy. John, how are you, bro? Able to watch the highlights after the hockey. They were flat until Rio and Fede came on. Cody Amo needs to be challenged. So look, I've got to be honest about it, John. I don't think that much of the challenging is going to come from Fede. He's just not up to the level. And I wanted to see more of him. We have seen a bit more of him. But honestly, I've not really seen anything to suggest that Arne has been wrong not playing him more. I haven't. I'd love to sit here and say otherwise, but I haven't. But Rio, different story. Rio, there's no debating it anymore. He needs to be getting more minutes now. Whether that's in place of Gakpo, whether that's in place of Mohamed Salah, I really don't mind. Mix it up. But the kid deserves more minutes. Ben said 90% far in support of Rio. Glad they got the result today, but things definitely need some changing. Yeah, it does. It definitely does, mate. And that's, you know, the point of tonight's stream. We can't keep getting away with it, you know, and we got away with it today. And I'm very grateful that we got away with it. I'm very happy to be sitting here talking about a win. But we need to be better. We need to be better. Emeka said, Rio, I think, is so good. I would sell Gravenberg right now, sell Salah, make Szoboszlai captain. So we'll move on, mate, to talk about the middle of the park, because I'm not happy with what I'm seeing from Ryan Gravenberg lately either. But I don't know if that's unfair of me, because he's been asked to play in our holding or deeper role. He isn't really that naturally a number 6. He played in the position last year, and the way we wanted to play, it suited us. But now it's very clear that we need a different style of number 6 in this team. And we're just too easy to play through the middle of. I've said it over and over and over again. We need somebody in there at the base of that midfield, really breaking up play, really just being a physical presence, because for all the great attributes Ryan Gravenberch has, and my goodness, he has a lot of them. Progressive ball carrying, being able to be press resistant, lots of positive stuff, but he's not a number 6 really. I'm going to miss Fede. It'd be like Darwin, a what if. Look, I always wonder what would have happened if Fede had got a proper rub of the green at Liverpool or a proper chance at Liverpool. Because I won't lie, Jaden, I was really excited when he came in. You know, that welcome to Liverpool video or the unveiling video, I don't remember seeing anybody as happy. You know, he really looked absolutely buzzing to be at Liverpool Football Club. And I felt from that, you know, from that day and all the content around it, that he wanted to prove a point, that he was coming to Liverpool to show Juventus that, you know, they were stupid to get rid of him. We never really got to see enough of him, though, to be fair. And now he just looks like a footballer who isn't up to the Premier League. It's just too fast for him. So I think, you know, when we say goodbye to him in the summer, you know, it'll be a respectful one, but also one, as you said, tinged with a little bit of what if and what maybe and a few other things like that, because the real shining moments have been few and far between, unfortunately. Skater Hardy said, but is it on the players or is it due to what they're being asked to do by Slot? And if Slot is going, do we really need a new 6? Maybe he'll be fine under Alonso. So, on the players part of it, look, I'm all up for holding the manager to account. And I think I do that, to be fair, week after week. But people were right today in what they were saying about some of the performances from the players, some of the passing. It just wasn't where we wanted it to be today. With regards to Gravenberch, I just don't think he is a number 6. I think last season, the way we played and the way the league was being played, it was easier for us to get through the season when it was the 6. This season, I just don't think he's able to fulfill the role in what is becoming a more physical Premier League, and I just don't think Ryan has those attributes back there. You need to be like a Rodri. Like, I mean, Jamie Carragher said it, Sangar ran that midfield today. And he hasn't been particularly good since he's come in, but he was good enough to run that midfield today. Dominic Szoboszlai made a difference when he was moved from right back into a more natural position for him. But yeah, there's still some big issues there that need to be resolved. And you know, give the manager credit for some things. We might be unhappy with the timing of the substitutions today, but I think he got the substitutions pretty much right. Slot out Rio today shows us what we're missing. And see, here's the thing, James, right? Now he doesn't really have anywhere to hide with the Rio situation. You know, there isn't he's not ready anymore or any of that stuff. You've even got Carragher and Sky now kind of pushing the Rio Ingamoa time frame. And we'll never know what may have happened if he had got a bit more game time this season. But we know at this point onwards that he gives us something a bit different. And I'm not saying he has to play every single week. But certainly West Ham at home next week feels like a good game to give Rio a run out on one of the wings. And I don't know which one. And I don't mind which one because I think we can do better on both wings. Now for me, Mohamed Salah, since he's come back from the AFCON, has been better than before he went. But still nowhere near the player we know he is capable of being. Cody Gakpo, like I've said, it's no surprise to me that he's somewhat one-dimensional. But I was annoyed by him today because he just refused to go around the outside. And it was there, the space was there. Rio comes on and straight away, in the 10 minutes he was on the pitch, or the 12 minutes, he mixed up the way he varied his attacks. He went round the outside, he went on the inside, went left, went right. Just looked different, gave them something to think about and caused problems for that Nottingham Forest defence, where it was way, way, way too easy for them before that. Can someone explain to me why Gakpo is never running to the byline? Is his left foot that terrible? Look, I know modern day wingers are mostly inverted, and I know that a lot of managers like them cutting inside to get a shot away. But there comes a time with Cody where it just becomes way too predictable. And, you know, you're almost able to guess what's going to happen next. And he's running into traffic a lot of the time and running into congested spaces. It's not like he's cutting inside. We've got Kirkes bombing around on the outside and he's using that space. He's just, he's just not at it. And I have to say, and I'll move on to ask this in a minute, if that's 65 million quid's on offer from Bayern Munich in the summer, I'm putting my hands up to take it, I have to say. I I think it would be a lot of money, and I think we should take it, because I don't think Cody's going to ultimately ever be the best wide player that we can get to play in that position. I think there are far better options out there, and you can either look at what I'm about to say one of two ways. You can look at it and say, when Diaz was here, it gave us both options, but it also gave Gakpo a bit more cover for, the predictable stuff that he does, because Diaz was so different and he could mix it up. It kind of hid some of the deficiencies of Cody Gakpo. And this season, well, they've been laid out to bear, because, his performances have been nowhere near good enough. They just haven't. Not for a player who signed a new contract. We need pace. We need a lot more pace in those wide areas. Stargirl, how are you, my friend? Said, I missed the game today. Sounds like it was bad. It wasn't great. The second half was better. No doubt about that. But yeah, it wasn't a great game at all. First half was shocking. Just truly abject, shocking, unacceptable that that after 8 days rest, that's the best we came up with after that time off. Like, it's just not good enough. Maddie said, I agree Fede is not the answer down the right, which highlights the importance of getting a world-class right winger to replace Mo and a left winger to compete with Rio. We can't go into next season with Mo and Cody. So, I agree with you, Maddie. I do. I agree with you. And the reason I'm going to agree and say we should sell Gakpo is because he's getting to become that age now where you would almost class him as not a senior pro, but he's getting towards his prime. And I don't think we're getting prime levels at Liverpool. I think there's better wingers out there. And if Bayern Munich are happy to come in and give us 65 million quid for Cody Gakpo, well, I'd be an interested seller at 65 million quid, especially if Diamonde is willing to come in and is as good as people are making him out to be. I have always said, and being honest, I'm playing catch up with Yan Diamonde. I don't know enough about him to know if he's the solution. But I do know that there are younger, faster, more tricky wingers out there that we should be utilising. And I also feel a little bit that Cody suffered from some of the frustration at the Dutch style of football that some people label at Arna. I think Cody's been the victim of some of that as well. Brian said, looking at Salah laughing done my head in. It really wound me up, bro. It did. It really wound me up. Now, somebody said that he was getting a bit of stick from the stands when he was going off or something. I think Haley said it in our Discord, and maybe that's why he was laughing. But no, not for me. I watched them on the bench still doing it with Gakpo, and the difference there was Gakpo looked genuinely frustrated and annoyed, whereas Salah was just being almost sarcastic about it. And it let me know one thing straight away. There's no way that situation with Ireland has resolved properly. Not a chance. Alter, should Rio start? And ask, will he start? Well, that's what I mean by should he start. But will he start? I mean, I don't know if any of us really know the answer to that, mate. I mean, look, I totally understand why you'd want me to alter the question. But I guess we're always second guessing what Arna might do. And if we can agree as fans that he should be starting, then I guess we can start that chatter, right? On social media, we can start sharing our thoughts and letting it be known that we as fans certainly believe that he's ready for the step up. But I fully take on board your point, and thank you as always. Appreciate your support. Craig O'Clock Dan said, Ekitike is so much like Bobby Firmino, doesn't need a certain move or a certain foot. He gets the ball and uses whatever he needs. He does need to work on the L heading a little bit, though. Craig O'Clock Dan, he does. There's been a few headed opportunities recently that I think he'll feel he could have been doing better at. Today was a rare day where Ekitike just couldn't get involved in the game. I'm not going to say he was poor. I just don't think he could get as involved as he would have wanted to for whatever reason. And look, of all the players that we've been critical of, and he was one today, he has credit in the bank. This is not a standard poor day for him. It's unusual for him to have had a quiet day. He's been brilliant for us. So certainly no issues with Hugo Ekitike. Today was just one of those days. Dave Sharpwell said, I want Yan Diamonde. This kid has a really high ceiling. Well, I want to go back to that Bayern Space post from a day or two ago about Yan Diamonde, and I want to read out exactly what was said so we can kind of digest it again. I'm just scrolling back through my notes. Bear with me, folks. I think it was this day here. How do I not have this? Apologies, I don't have it. Either that or it's further back than I thought it was. How do I not have this? Sorry, I'm still scrolling through my notes, just trying to find this Bayern Space post. Ba-dum-bum. I don't seem to have it in my notes. I must have deleted it after I used it. Anyway, the gist of it was that Bayern Munich won Cody Gakpo because they feel like they've lost the race for Yan Diamonde, and they want to basically fund the move. So here we go. Yes, here you go. Thank you. Keane sent it on to me again. So let me read this out to you and then we'll have a proper chat about it. So it reads, internally at Bayern Munich, there is growing discussion, as I exclusively revealed weeks ago, following Yan Diamonde's rejection about pivoting towards Cody Gakpo as the alternative on the left wing, with influential voices inside the club convinced he would thrive in the Bundesliga's open transitional spaces in a similar way to Luis Diaz. And what is an added new layer of tension in recent days are the fresh interactions, including signals interpreted from contacts around Gakpo's representatives that have led to some board members to increasingly believe the Premier League club holding a personal agreement with Diamonde could in fact be Liverpool. Although this remains an internal reading of the situation rather than than a confirmation, it's still being handled with caution at an executive level. The ironic twist is that Bayern could end up indirectly financing that very move by paying up to £65 million, around €75 million, to sign Cody Gakpo from Liverpool, effectively funding the transfer of the player who rejected them in the first place, a scenario that underlines how quickly leverage can shift at the top of the market, even if inside these figures insist they would ultimately be comfortable with such an outcome, provided the investment guarantees immediate quality and decisive output on the pitch. So, yeah, lots to digest on that one. But basically, when we finish this poll, which it looks like we're close to doing, yeah, we'll let it get to 1,500. And then we'll ask, would you take £65 million in the summer to sell Cody Gakpo if it meant getting Diamonde? So I'm going to ask that. And I guess the next question would be, do we need to sell to buy? That's probably the next question. I think of it like this. It's a lot to ask to have two young wingers and not have somebody more senior around. So if you've got Rio Engamoa, if you've got Yan Diamonde, but you've lost Cody Gakpo and you're maybe going to lose Salah, I do think you need somebody in that 25, 26 age-year-old bracket to be there as an option, a bit more experience as well. I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything. Yep, there's a couple here I did miss. Thankfully, I scroll back up. Right. Jacko, how are you, dude? Said, our squad is such a mess, in my opinion. We need upgrades or extra players in almost every position. I don't see how we get it all done in one summer window. So I was trying to think over this the other day, Jacko, and ask how many players do we really need outside of one-for-ones? So one in, one out. Push that to the side. How many do we need to build out the squad? Well, we definitely need to look at the left-back situation with Robertson's contract. So we need something there. We need to have a hard and honest discussion about the right-hand side, and is Conor Bradley going to be stricken with injuries for the foreseeable? If he is, that's not much use to anybody, him or us. So we need to figure out that. Then I think Canade's future will have a big say in what happens with the defence and how many we may need there. So as right now, I'm saying we need number 6 in midfield, but I'd be the first one to say that we could lose a central midfielder as well, so we had a bit of depth there. So we need two wingers for me, two wingers, a number 6, and then I think it's about one in, one out after that. That's kind of where my head's at. Maybe a goalkeeper as well, depending on what the situation is with Georgie Mamardashvili, because we haven't really got to see too much of him to know if he's going to be the guy for when Ali hangs up the gloves or when Ali departs for pastures new. I would have never thought Mo would be like CR7 ego. Look, I don't think any player that gets to the level that Messi, Ronaldo, Salah, these top pros, you have to have a bit of an ego about you. You have to believe that everything should flow through you, that you are the guy. I don't think you get to these levels in football if you don't have them. But there has to be a point as well where you have to understand and acknowledge that Father Time plays a part in your career and is undefeated. And at what point do you have to admit that, yes, you aren't the player that you once were? Now, you can, account for some changes, a lack of pace, maybe you get a bit more match awareness or a bit more professional ability. But you're never going to get faster. You're never going to get really stronger as you get older. So what we're seeing this season is just unfortunately a big drop-off. And last season he probably overachieved. I think that's, a fair enough statement. But this year, 9. Can you imagine Mo going 9 games without a Premier League goal? I mean, it hasn't happened for God knows how long. But that's where we're at now. 2 in his last 15. Right, so yeah, should Rio Ingamoa start against West Ham? 93% of you guys said yes, Rio Ingamoa should start against West Ham. So let's ask the question on Cody Gakpo. So would you sell Gakpo for... let's go with the pounds version, so £65 million in the summer. So, would you sell Cody Gakpo for £65 million in the summer? Yes, no. Do you want me to put an unsure option in, or do you want a straight yes or no? Because I do know some people will rightly be unsure. So, if you want an unsure option, let me know, or will we just go yes or no? Whatever you guys want to do. Unsure. Yeah, no probs. Cool. Right, so yes, no, or unsure. Should we sell Cody Gakpo this summer? Branca said, fell asleep at 12:30 a.m. Game was at 1 a.m. my time. Woke up at 4:30. Prostate issues, couldn't even came out the game and saw people's comments and your guys' comments. Glad I missed it. Slot needs to go. So, to be fair, Branca, there was a lot of people today who weren't just putting this at the feet of Arne Slot, who thought, fair enough, the manager has some accountability, but the players also have to stand up and be counted. And today was one of those that I'm not really sure where the finger of blame should lie. Should it be with the coach or should it be with the players? I do think the truth is in the middle there somewhere on this one in particular. Like, I find it very difficult to understand what the game plan was today. That's something I spoke about with Connor afterwards. I really still, sitting back here now, I don't know what the plan was on what that first 45 minutes was supposed to look like in Arne's mind. But I know it didn't look like we were out there dominating possession in a way that he keeps inventing in his mind that we do. We had a bit more possession in the game, yes, but in that first half, we were just sitting deep. And, we don't have the pace to play with counter-attacking players. We just don't have it at the minute. So I don't know what that plan was all about. Forest were doing to us what I would have wanted us to do to them. They were on the front foot. They were hunting in packs, 2s and 3s, closing down our players, forcing mistakes and turnovers high up the pitch. And we were just nowhere. We weren't at the races for the first 45. That absolutely baffles me. Because we shouldn't be tired. They've had plenty of time. In the last month, I think there's been a couple of periods where we've had 1 game a week or eight days between games. So, yeah, really, really frustrated to see us start so slowly today. Still dreaming, said left side needs freshening up. I would agree with that, mate. I would agree with that. Whether that freshening up comes from Rio getting more minutes or, whether we go into the market in the summer, I guess we'll find out over the next few months. Any news on Flo? Other than he had a bit of a back pain that they hope and believe should make him okay for West Ham, nothing new. It certainly doesn't sound, Haley, like we're concerned about it. He just felt something in the warm-up, and you would hope that over the course of the next 6 days, he'd stretch it out and he'd feel a bit better and he should be able to go against West Ham. Look, I do appreciate that losing Wirtz just before kickoff would have had an impact. Like, I'm not naive enough to think it wouldn't. But still, I don't get what the game plan was. Because even dropping Wirtz into that team, I still don't understand what it is that we were trying to do in that first 45. Yeah, I want to give the lads credit for keep going at the end. Many, many times we've seen Liverpool go to the well late. And Sky Sports put up a stat to show 90th minute winners and the most of them in Premier League history. So I know we always joked about Fergie time and all of that, but ultimately Liverpool are top of the pile. So in the top, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. So in 8th position, Manchester City have scored 24 winners in the 90th minute onwards. Same as Newcastle. Then comes Everton, 27 winners in the 90th minute onwards. Chelsea, 31. Spurs, 32. Then comes Manchester United, who've scored 34 winners in the 90th minute or later. Arsenal, 36. And Liverpool, way out in front, 48 times Liverpool have scored 90th minute winners in the Premier League history. 14 clear of Manchester United. So, we have a tendency to score late goals, but, there's only so much the old heart can take with these late goals. Jaden said, can't believe Lego Head won, keeping the race going. Look, to be fair, I didn't expect anything other than an Arsenal win in that game. I thought it would be a bit closer than it was. But Spurs are just not great. And there's so many players out. Look at the back three that they had there today. Van de Ven, Dragusin, and Joe Polina playing as their back three. It's just Spurs are not very good. And I'm looking forward to us playing them at home because we should get some joy out of that game. Sonny said, question, if every player is fit, what would be your formation and starting 11? Be interesting to get everyone's thoughts. So if everybody was fit, I still would probably stick with a back four because we just don't have the depth at the minute. Ideally, I'd like to switch to something like a 3-4-3, but ultimately right now, I don't think we have enough centre-backs. So I'd still stick with a back four. And after that, it depends on the opposition. Do you go 4-4-2 diamond? Do you go 4-3-3? 4-2-2-2-2. Again, it depends on the opposition, but I just don't think we have the personnel at the minute at centre back with the way we've an injured young centre back and the way Gomez injuries have been that we could go to a back three. But I'd love in general to see the idea of it. Derek said, "Is me or does Hugo play better with Wirtz playing?" Oh, it's not just you, Derek. I said to Connor midweek that they've really started to form a good understanding. Florian Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike. There's been some lovely little work between them in the 18-yard box. Some good pullbacks to the edge of the 6-yard box for a couple of Ekitike's goals. They definitely have a very good understanding. So, no, I don't think it's just you, my man. SpongeBob said, hey, Craig, have you seen Chelsea's fixtures? I have, mate, yeah. I think I have them here. Bear with me, bro. Yeah, have them here. So Chelsea's next games are Arsenal away, Aston Villa away, Newcastle at home, Everton away, City at home, United home. That's a tough run of fixtures. And now we're level on points with Chelsea. United have a game in hand, so they can still move 3 points clear. Or is it 2 points clear? Let me just check. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, so Manchester United will go 3 points clear of us if they win. We're level on points with them. They have a game in hand. So we're still in 6th place in the league table, as mad as it sounds, but it feels a lot better, doesn't it? Feels a lot better being level on points with those, and whatever United do on Monday or tomorrow, we'll find out. But yeah, It's a big week, and it's a big couple of weeks coming up now, because I really feel like we can start to put a bit of space between us and Chelsea. United, I think, are going to last the course in the league. I really do. I think someone asked me the other night what I think happens with the race for the top 5 positions, and I think we'll get into it. And I think United will edge out Chelsea because they've only got one game a week to worry about. So I think they're going to get over the line and get themselves Champions League football next season. I wanted to talk about a comment from Mark Kosicka, Jurgen Klopp's agent. And the comment was, in situations where he maybe went a bit too far with the owners because he really wanted certain players and they wouldn't give them to him, I was caught in the middle trying to smooth things over somehow. With Jurgen, you can have a proper argument and still get on really well. Those are only brief moments. We're very close friends, and if we don't see eye to eye, we can deal with it. It's good to finally have some confirmation that there was times that Jurgen wanted players and FSG said no. Because so many times in arguments I've had with journalists or even other content creators, I kept getting met with Jurgen's happy. Jurgen doesn't want more players. If Jurgen wanted more players, he'd get them. And I never believed it. Because what manager doesn't want a little bit more talent to work with or a little bit higher caliber player? I absolutely believe that Jurgen feels that Liverpool have to be sustainable. And I'm sure he didn't want Liverpool to get into financial difficulties. But it's good to finally get confirmation that, yes, there were times where he wanted players and they just wouldn't pony up the dough. Matt said, sorry, but Arnold deserves credit these past months. I think he's gotten it, Matt. In all honesty, mate. I genuinely do. I'm not trying to be a smart arse at all, because I agree with you. He's stopped the rot. He's put together some wins. Absolutely. There's no debate for me on that, Matt. Question is though, bro, is he the guy to take us forward? Is he the guy to carry on? And that I'm still in the no camp of, to be honest, Matt. But your point is very fair. If I sat here and said that it isn't better now than we were a month and a half, 2 months ago, I'd be a liar. We're definitely better, but we're still not good enough for my liking, mate. And that performance today kind of just underlines that. It's good to get away with a win, and I'll take it, but we didn't play well enough. Can you imagine Klopp had that money to spend? I mean, yeah, it would be interesting. So let's have a conversation about the top 60 Premier League players of all time. A list compiled by The Athletic and Sport Bible published it. I want to read you out the top 25, if that's okay, because it gives you better context and we haven't got time to work through the whole 60. But the top 25 players in the Premier League of all time are as follows. Number 25, Mohamed Salah. That already is a piss take. Straight away, piss take. Number 24, Kevin De Bruyne. Number 23, Tony Adams. Number 22, Andy Cole. 21, Vincent Kompany. Number 20, Ashley Cole. Number 19, Paul Scholes. 18, David Beckham. 17, Peter Schmeichel. 16, Eden Hazard. Now you can fuck right off with that. I'm not having Eden Hazard 9 places above Mohamed Salah on that list when he's not fit to lace Mohamed Salah's boots for the amount of goals and assists that Mo has had from a wide position. I find that infuriating. I feel like somebody's just bowed down to pressure or something there, because there's no way I'm believing that Eden Hazard had a better Premier League career than Salah. I'm not having it. Number 15, Dennis Bergkamp. Number 14, John Terry. Number 13, Patrick Vieira. Number 12, David Silva. Number 11, Rio Ferdinand. Now we're moving into the top 10. Number 10, Sergio Aguero. Number 9, Wayne Rooney. Number 8, Steven Gerrard. 7, Roy Keane. 6, Frank Lampard. 5, Cristiano Ronaldo. And that's a fucking disgrace. I'll move back to that in a second. Number 4, Ryan Giggs. Number 3, Eric Cantona. 2, Alan Shearer. And 1, Thierry Henry. So look, there's a couple of things on that jump off the page to me. Mohamed Salah being that much below Hazard is a joke. But Cristiano Ronaldo being number 5 on that list is an absolute piss take. How has Cristiano Ronaldo been the 5th best player in Premier League history? Please explain it to me. Because this isn't about what he did after he left Manchester United. Nobody's trying to argue that the man was absolutely incredible. But really, the 5th best player in his time in the whole of the Premier League history, I don't see it. Not for his time at United. I just don't see it. He was really good, but it wasn't long enough. It wasn't long enough to deserve a place that high in the list. Yeah, just I don't agree with Sergio Aguero being in there, absolutely deservedly in there, absolute goal scoring machine. Rooney, Gerrard, Keane, Lampard, no problem with any of that. It just feels crazy to me that Ronaldo's 5th on a list of Premier League all time. You know, maybe you disagree. I just don't think he had enough longevity to deserve to be that high up the table. Luis Suarez is 34 on the list for those asking. Any other names? Feel free to let me know and I'll give them a shout. Sadio Mane, 37. Raheem Sterling, 38. Virgil van Dijk, 39. Does that not feel a bit wrong? That Virgil van Dijk is 39. Below Raheem Sterling. I know Raheem Sterling's won a lot. But Virgil van Dijk has been a top quality centre-back in the Premier League for, 8-9 years? Gareth Bale. He is... Where's Gareth Bale? I seen his name a minute ago. 26 for Gareth Bale. 1 place behind Salah. Bergkamp, he was... Where's Dennis Bergkamp? He was quite high. 15. Dennis Bergkamp, 15. I've got no problem with most of the list, to be fair. Henry was an absolute worldie. No argument about that. An incredible player. Alan Shearer, Cantona, Giggs, Ronaldo is just a piss take there. Lampard, Keane, Gerrard, Rooney. No problem with any of them. Aguero, no problem with that. I find it mad. Who else is... James Milner, 44. David Ginola is 43. Robbie Fowler, 42. Robbie Fowler behind Jamie Vardy, who's 41. The late Gary Speed, number 40. Jurgen Klinsmann somehow squeezes in a 56. Where's Harry Kane? Harry Kane is 33 on that list. That feels... Harry Kane's behind Gianfranco Zola on the list. Now, I'm not Harry Kane's biggest fan, but that's daylight robbery. Harry Kane should be further up that list than Gianfranco Zola. That's crazy. Where someone said Vidic. I'm trying to find Nemanja Vidic's name on this list. Where is Nemanja Vidic? He has to be here. I refuse to believe he isn't on the list. Vidic. What? I don't think he's on it. I can't find Nemanja Vidic on the list. Okay, that seems crazy. Even as a Liverpool fan, that seems mad. Petr Cech all the way down at number 29 feels a little bit dirty as well. I think Petr Cech should be higher than 29. He's one of the best goalkeepers of the Premier League era. Although in saying that, I don't think Alisson Becker's name's on the list. Which, again, I find crazy. Where's John Terry? John Terry was number 14 on the list. Fernando Torres, he was on the list. Where was Fernando Torres? I'm sure I seen him a minute ago. Maybe he wasn't. Yeah, maybe Torres wasn't on it. Van Persie, Perez, no, not on it. Cesc Fabregas is on it at 32. Drogba, is Didier on the list? Yeah, he's 27, Didier Drogba. Just ahead of Ian Wright, who's 28. Michael Owen is number 36. UKJ101 said, where would you put Ronaldo then? I think 5 to 8 is valid. Ballon d'Or winner. He did think that most players couldn't. 2018 was Ronaldo at his best. But he didn't do it for long enough. And that's my whole point, mate. We're talking about the Premier League greats. And Ronaldo, as I said, nobody's denying that the man's a multiple Ballon d'Or winner and what he achieved in his career. I just don't think he had the longevity in the Premier League to justify being top 5 for me. You know, somewhere between 10 and 15 probably feels fairer. You know, if he had been in the Premier League for a couple of more seasons. Letitia was on the list, mate. I seen someone say Letitia. He was number 45 on the list. Alonso? No, I don't think Alonso's on the list. No. Carragher just about scrapes in at 59. Anyway, look, we don't want to spend the entire show on that. I just thought I'd bring it up as a talking point. They're all rage bait interaction farms. That's all. I mean, if I could give you a standing ovation, mate, I would, because that's exactly what all these lists are to me. Look, I can tell you from being in the content world that when you're doing a list like that, there are knowingly 4 or 5 names in the list that they know will provoke a reaction. Right, so we asked, would you sell Cody Gakpo for £65 million in the summer? We'll leave it go a tiny bit longer if you don't mind, because we're heading towards 1,500 votes, and the bigger the sample size, the better. So we're asking, would you sell Cody Gakpo for £65 million this summer? Let me just add in one thing, by the way. If we're selling him for £65 million, to me, it would have to be outside the Premier League. You know, I don't want the strength in the Premier League team by selling one of our players. So I'd rather a move like that would be to the Bundesliga or somewhere outside the Prem. No Gary Speed. No, Gary Speed's on it, mate. I did say the late Gary Speed. His name was on the list. Yeah, no, he is, in fairness to them. The late Gary Speed is... Where was Gary? Number 40 on the list. Number 40. Do you know who I couldn't find on the list, though? And I looked for ages. Ravel Morrison. Robbed. Didn't for Alex Ferguson say he was going to be the next great thing? No Ravel Morrison on the list of the top 60 Premier League players there of all time. Is Trent on the list? No, I don't think he is, actually. No, not on the list. Gareth Barry, somebody said. Where was Gareth Barry? I'm sure he's on the list. Gareth Barry. Not seeing him. Gareth Barry. No, Gareth Barry. He's not on the list. Unless I've missed something, I can't see his name on the list. Is Bruno Fernandes on it? Not that I'm aware of. No Bruno. Which is a bit mad considering Cesc Fabregas is on it. Now, I know Fabregas was brilliant, but, you know, Bruno's had a good career in the Premier League. No, Bobby's not on it either. No, Bobby. No, Robbo. No. Milner's there, number 44. Robbie Fowler's number 42. Just one behind Jamie Vardy. I'd sell Gakpo to City or Arsenal if they wanted. Really? I mean, I guess you can look at it and say, if we don't think he's good enough, do you really worry about him being good enough in the Premier League elsewhere? But I'd rather not, you know. I don't like selling to Premier League rivals. I'd rather sell outside the league if possible. Right, let's check where we at. Right, we have the votes. So, we asked, would you sell Cody Gakpo for £65 million in the summer? 87%. 87% said yes, they would sell him. 7% are unsure. So there's only 6% that definitively would not want to sell Cody Gakpo in the summer for £65 million. That's a small number. Max said, Craig, is it just me or does Aston Villa not seem like good 4 or 5 contenders? I think they'll stay in the top 5, but I wouldn't rule out if we put a run together, us, maybe reining them in. How many points is there between us and Villa at the minute? 51. 6 points. I don't think that's insurmountable. Honestly, I can see Villa dropping more points. So, if we can rein in third place, that would be a good salvaging of the season. Because I don't mind if we finish third behind Manchester City and Arsenal with the way the season went for us. That would be respectable. Martin Lawrence. I'm going to ask this as a poll question, if I may. Martin said, Craig, I think the attitude displayed by Salah today was entitled, petulant, and has the potential to be divisive. I think he should be dropped for the next match, and I'm a huge Salah fan. Martin, I agree with you. See, for me, when you talk about senior pros at the club, they have to show and lead by example. They have to. And these are the guys that the manager is supposed to be able to rely on in the changing room to set the standard and set the tone. And that doesn't just mean with your performances on the pitch. It means that you're there at training on time. It means that you're pulling your weight in the sessions. It means that you're doing your part and showing the next young players coming through what the attitude has to be at Liverpool. And I don't like the message that delivered today, that he's sitting there smirking again. It winds me up. And I don't think I'm on my own with it. Right, let's ask that question though. How do I pose this one? So, I'm going to just ask it this way. Are you upset with Salah smirking after he was subbed? I think that's a fair way to pose the question. So, are you upset with Salah smirking after he was subbed today? Now, look, I gather that other people look at it and think no big deal. And that's fine as well. It is all open to perception, and you look at these situations, we all see them with different eyes. So, I'm not saying that how I feel is the right way. I can only ever tell you how I feel. But I'm certainly around long enough to understand that others may see it differently. Others may think it's a coping mechanism, for being taken off, or to feel a little bit embarrassed, or to be disappointed in yourself. And again, I don't think we really know the definitive answer to that unless you know the person on a personal level. And the reason I think I wanted to bring it up this evening is it's not his first time. There were times even under Jurgen when he was substituted that he had a bit of a strop. And, after the speaking out earlier on in the season against Arna and that all being sorted out, I just felt that was a bit unnecessary today. I've no problem with a player being frustrated at being taken off. If they show their frustration, be like, I should have done better, and you think that that's what they're feeling. But the smirking just... If, as our friend said a minute ago, it did kind of have a little hint of entitlement off it. And I don't think that's the wrong word. I think they used the right word there a moment ago when they said entitlement. Because that's kind of what it felt like me? Taking me off? Carbon said, not going to lie, Rio's to become a great player once he gets the minutes. Well, we talked the other day about the fee that we ended up having to pay for Rio Ngamoa. And I want to just remind you of it because it's incredible. So the two clubs fell out, obviously, over that transfer. But the transfer fee was delicious. It was like or 6.8 million quid or something like that. 1 second. I have the numbers here somewhere. Where was the article we read the other day about Rio Engamoa? Don't have it again. It was something like 6.8 million quid. Anyway, it was 7 or 8 million quid at the most. And that's what Rio Engamoa was going to cost Liverpool after the tribunal with Chelsea was settled. It's an incredibly low sum of money when you think about the quality of footballer he's going to become. Rio and Abe would make for an insane winger duo, but I don't know if we can convince Abe to stay. Yeah, it's a tough one, because I have to say I back the club stance on not giving huge money to 16-year-old kids. I understand and totally get where the club are coming from on that. I hope that if you're young Joshua Abe and his family, you're looking not about the money, but the pathway. And if you don't think Liverpool are going to give you a pathway into the first team, okay, that's fair enough. But if it's a financial decision at this young age, I'd be concerned about that. Like if he looks at it and thinks, I think my chances of getting into the first team are better served if I go to X, Y, or Z, okay. But if it's just about this at 16 years of age, that will be a concern for me. Itachi said, I would sell Salah and Gakpo for £50 million each in the summer, bring in Diamande and Gordon and give Rio more time on the pitch. Well, look, think about it this way, and this is the kind of way I'd play it out in my head, Itachi. If we lost Salah and Gakpo this summer, is that then getting into too much change across the front line in one window? You know, we've already playing catch up from losing Luis Diaz, and we hope that Rio Engamoa is going to take those minutes. If you bring in a 19-year-old Yan Diamande from RB Leipzig, that's still a very young kid coming into the Premier League. Well, with the experience that you're losing from the likes of Salah and Gakpo, I would personally want us to be able to bring in somebody, let's say, like a Michael Olise, as well as a Diamande. I would need somebody 24, 25 with a bit more experience to come in. That's just my take on it. Would love Anthony Gordon on the wing instead of Gakpo, said Becoming Human, 18. The problem with Anthony Gordon for me would be the price tag. I've always said I like Anthony Gordon as a player, but if the 95 million number is legit, then that's just crazy. Sorry, just joined. Was Verge offside? No, there was a foot. I didn't actually notice it in real time, but there was a foot that was behind Virgil that was playing him onside. So no, he was onside. I seen a couple of replays of it, and I seen the lines, and there was a foot that was keeping him on. I was worried at first. I did think he might have been offside, but thankfully the line showed that he was on. That meme guy said if we lose both Gakpo and Salah, it's basically another throwaway season due to young players that are not Prem proven. Potentially, you know, but this is the dilemma, right? So the club have to figure this out as well. And we as fans have to acknowledge this and talk about it also. Like, if we lost both of those in one summer window, then you've got Isak who's coming back in, and, you know, we haven't really got to get a read on this season too much. Hugo Ekitike, who, look, we know how good he's going to be. Young Rio, who's still making his way through. And then you'd have one or two new players. I do understand people, I think that's maybe getting into the realms of a lot to ask to be competitive again, particularly in the big competitions. But I guess it's the balancing act between proper transition and managing transition. So trying to do it over a couple of seasons, but not having much of a drop off versus just going out and saying, right, we're doing all this shit, and then we're going to see how it goes, and it might be a couple of years of instability. Michael said, I'm a new member. Love this. Well, welcome in, Michael. It's lovely to have you, mate. Thank you for your support. Maddie said, in the days of Shankly, Paisley, Fagan, if you had 3 bad games, you were benched regardless who you were, and you would have to fight for your place again. Look, I think everybody's position should be under threat with 3 bad games, Maddie. I'm right in that with you. But you also have to have credible options, and we don't really have a credible option on the right-hand side. As much as we could talk about maybe playing Rio and Gamoa for Cody, and I'd be up for giving that a go, don't really have credible options. Like, honestly, if you ask me right now who I want on the right, Salah or Chiesa, I'm probably sticking with Salah based off what we've seen, and I'm not happy with Salah, so that tells you where I'm at with that situation. Johnny said, Craig, do you think Isak and Leone will be like new signings as they've been out most of the season? To some extent, yes, but in another way, no. Like, they won't need as much time to bed in because they'll have been used to at least the training environments, where they live, stuff like that. They'll have a better understanding of the league. Well, from Isak's position, that was fine. He was already at Newcastle, but they'll certainly give us another dimension next year. I think Kanade holds the key to what we do with centre-back in the summer with regards to, if he stays, you could maybe risk another young one, but if he goes, I think you've got to bring in an experienced centre-back then as cover. Nasser said, Craig, I don't know anything about the financial side of Liverpool, but how much can we realistically spend in the summer? Bit worried we can't spend much because the summer that just passed. Well, let me kind of answer it by going through a list that we covered the other day. And this list is net spend in the last 10 years in the Premier League. In world football, So most negative net transfer spending last 10 years. So basically, what you've sold, what you've brought in, what's the difference between the two of them over 10 years. So Liverpool have averaged a net spend of about 61.5 million quid a year over the last 10 years, on average each season. Manchester United have averaged a net of about 145 million euro a year versus Liverpool's 61.5. Then you see Chelsea and Arsenal. Arsenal have averaged 112 million euro per season, nearly 113 million euro per season net spend. Chelsea 117. Spurs are above us. Spurs have a net spend of 92.6 million euro per season. So Liverpool have spent, if you put that into pound sterling, about 50 million quid net a year. And we have the ability to spend a lot more than that. So we're talking about Liverpool's financials. Well, think of it this way. The summer that we've just had, the big summer, the huge summer, the monumental summer, with all those signings, we still had a lower net spend than Arsenal in the summer just gone. And we broke the British transfer record twice. But because we recouped a fair chunk of money, they spent more net than we did in the summer. So the answer to the question, we have plenty of wiggle room. Plenty. Now, I can speak about that, but I can't speak to the willingness or the desire of the owners to spend it. But we wouldn't have any issue spending another £150 million net in the summer. None. Again, I speak to Mo Chatter about this to try and get a better understanding of it, but there is plenty of wiggle room there. Yes, plenty. And we didn't even have to sell off women's teams, hotels to ourselves for any of that other bollocks that the shenanigans others have pulled to get away with it. Craig, that's over 10 years. We'll be okay with FFP. I know, Dave. That's what I said. I average it out per season, and we work out about 50 million quid net per season. I know it's done in 3-year cycles, but next season it's being done from anchoring. Now, look, we'll talk about anchoring over the summer and what that entails. Craig, would you play Elliott if Salah goes? Not under this manager, no. Because I don't think he believes Elliott's good enough. So there's no point in having the kid around if the manager doesn't think he's good enough. Now, if Alonso came in, and let's say Alonso wanted to work with Elliott, I'd be open to it, of course. But, there's no point in bringing him back in under Arna because we know he's not going to get the game time. So, speaking about Elliott, he did post under Rio Engamoa's Instagram post today to say, well done, lil bro, changed it, which is lovely to see. You know, still good to see Harvey looking out for other young players, and of course Liverpool's result today. Jaden said, "Need Rio to stay just how he is, no ego." Yeah. Look, I don't want Liverpool footballers ever having egos, to be honest with you. It's, you know, professional pride and confidence is one thing. I mean, kind of Carragher talked about footballing arrogance from Dominic Szoboszlai today, but he meant it in a positive way. And I totally understand what he meant. It's like, I'll make this happen. Give me the ball. I'll do it. And he showed a really good example of us in the build-up play, and there was an opportunity a couple of times for Szoboszlai to take on easy passes, one out to the right side to Joe Gomez and one across left-hand side. But he wanted to be the guy to deliver the ball in. So he shifted it to his left and shifted it back to his right, got half a yard and put that cross in that Virgil headed. Then we bundled in over the line from McAllister. That's the type of thing that you really are seeing Dominic Szoboszlai step up now and say, I'm the guy. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm going to deliver. Give me the ball. Love that about him. Absolutely. It was a lovely bit of punditry from Carragher as well. Yeah, good example. What does anchoring mean in the transfer market? It basically means that you can only spend percentage of the lowest club's TV revenue or a multiple of it. I don't have a couple of sentence explanation that I'll be able to give you, but I promise you, before the summer transfer window opens, we'll get stuck into trying to figure out the anchoring situation and exactly what it means, because, you know, we're just getting used to one system with FFP and PSR and all this other stuff, and then it's been changed around again. Craig, would you have Wilson back on a free in the summer? No, I wouldn't. I think Harry Wilson's having the season of his career, and you know, whatever happens, I wish him the best, but I don't think he'd make it at Liverpool. This has been his best season of Fulham, and what is he now, 27, 28? No, I wouldn't bring him back, but delighted to see him doing well. Sincerely, he seems like a really nice fella, and you know, just didn't get a chance really to make it at Liverpool, and I'm delighted he's having such a good season. Kev, lovely to see you, bro, and thank you for being with us as a member, Kev, for 10 months. Slot out, no trust in youth, no tactics, sell Salah. Right, on the Salah situation, we've asked, we're nearly up to 1,000 votes, so we've about 95 votes to go. We asked, are you upset with Salah after smirking when he was substituted? And I want to talk about the summer window. If you had to sell one, I'm going to ask you which one you'd sell this summer. But I want to just get this Salah poll up to 1,000 first, and then I'll ask you that, because I do think selling both of them this summer would leave us a lot of work to do to be balanced for next season. Even with Verts getting used to Ekatike and stuff like that, it's a lot to change both wingers, both starting wingers in one window. Although, to be fair, it was also very strange today to see a side battling relegation go and change both their wingers as well. You know, weren't happy with what they were getting from Hudson-Odoi and what they were getting from Amari Hutchinson, and just changed both of them. Itachi said, what would be your preferred starting lineup for next season with all the rumours included? 4-4-2 or with wingers? Of the two you've given me, 4-4-2. I don't want 4-4-2, no. I like 4-3-3. I like it when we press. I like it when we play the way we usually, or we've gotten used to playing. I'm a big fan of 4-3-3 as a system, but we're not getting the best out of 4-3-3 this season because the wide players aren't giving us enough. Even defensively, they're not giving us enough. So I'd love us to go to a 3-4-3 next season. I really would. I'd love us to go to get in, let's say, Mickey van de Ven in there, let's say, alongside Canade, Virgil. Then you've got young Leone there. You've got Jeremy Jacquet coming in. And then we get to manage the two of them for a year as Virgil transitions towards the end of his Liverpool contract. That's the kind of thing that I think we should be looking at. But we still don't know what's happening with the big man, what Ibu's going to do with his contract, whether he agrees an extension with Liverpool or whether he moves on. Jaden said, need Van de Ven, Bastoni and the DM and the Brazilian player. I wonder, I did think Van de Ven was absolutely ungettable. But now I'm starting to wonder, is there a possibility to get him? And I'm not just talking about if Spurs are relegated. Because let's be honest, he's too good for that level that Spurs are at now. He deserves better than that. And I know he had an injury-ravaged season last year, but when he's fit and he's playing like this season, he's an incredibly accomplished defender, and the pace that he has is frightening. Mark said Canada is going, that's for sure. I don't know, Mark. I probably would have agreed with you, mate, last week or a couple of weeks ago. There's just something's changed in my mind, mate, over the past week to 10 days. It just makes me feel a bit more optimistic on it. Now, you know, it's nothing that you don't know. It's no inside information or anything like that. I just, you know, when Virgil was speaking about his contract going very late and I'm not wanting to, when Arna was speaking about the fact that obviously the club want Canada to stay, I don't know, maybe I'm being delusional, but I feel a little bit more positive about it than perhaps I did a week or 2 weeks ago. Rio on the right wing, Hugo left and Isak through the middle. Look, I could make do with that, but again, you're leaving yourself short putting both your centre forwards on. But look, I wouldn't say no for a few games anyway, or to give it a bash. You know, if Isak was back, let's say, for April, May, wouldn't mind seeing what you've said there in a couple of games. Wouldn't say no to it whatsoever. Randy said, our first corner was in the 47th minute, not good enough. Our first shot on target was, I think, Randy, if I'm not mistaken, mate, even later than that. It was the Curtis Jones chance that was saved from about 5 yards out. That, I think, was our first shot on target in the game. Right, so we've got the votes. Are you upset with Salah smirking after he was subbed? 68% of people said yes, 32% said no. Appreciate you. Amica said, Craig, you're the best person. I try my best, my friend. I can be an asshole at times, unintentionally most of the time. I can just be a bit cutting or a bit short with people. But I try my best, and I tell you what, I'm extremely lucky. I have such a great group of people that support our channel, that come in here every night to have a chat with me. I couldn't have wished for this when we started. So every day for me truly is a blessing, and one that I feel very grateful for. Right, what was the other one? Yeah, okay, I was going to ask you this. I'm really enjoying this stream, actually. Right. Okay, so which one would you sell this summer if we were only selling one of them? Salah or Gakpo? Because I want to see if it came down to one staying, one going, what you guys would do this summer. If you could only move on one of these guys in the summer, which one would you move on? Mohamed Salah or Cody Gakpo? I am unfortunate. Said I think the Salah issue is rooted in the coaching, not the player. I just don't think he gets on or believes in the manager, mate. I'm with you on that one. And I always kind of wondered how put to bed that situation was before he went over to the AFCON. Now, he's come back and we've been in a decent bit of form, so there hasn't really been anything for anyone to be unhappy about. But today kind of gave an indication that, yeah, maybe everything isn't as rosy as maybe we'd like it to be behind the scenes. See, I thought about this poll question for the last few minutes while we were going over things, and I was playing it over in my mind, trying to think which one I would answer. And it's a very difficult one because on the face of it, you can look at it and say, if you sell Salah, Gakpo may still have a good season with Rio in and around him and a bit of competition, and you could still see circumstances where he'd be good. But you get 400 grand a week off the books if you sell Salah and probably recoup a transfer fee for somebody that might not be there in a year's time. Whereas with Gakpo, he's on a new deal. Even if you delayed selling him one more year, you'd still get a very good fee from him. So I think I'd lean towards selling Salah this summer for those reasons. Because he's older, because he's only got 1 year to go on his deal, the amount of money he's on, and I think you can still get money for Gakpo in a year's time if you need to, because he signed a new contract next summer. So I don't think we're under as much pressure to recoup a fee there. Skater Hardy said, I prefer Salah to stay, mainly because I believe under a new coach we would see true self again. Gakpo is too one-dimensional, but we know Salah is probably the most likely to go. Kev said, Craig, for age and sell-on value, it has to be Salah. Gakpo still has age and could still get sell-on value. Salah for the money, said 123 Jam. Mo is definitely going in the summer to the Saudi League. I get the feeling he is as well, Paul. Like, I can't say if for a fact, because I don't know it for a fact, but my gut tells me it's likely, unless the manager's changed. Like, I would be very interested, let's say, if we found out, let's say we're out of the Champions League and we did make it to the FA Cup final, but we're safely tucked away in third or fourth. I'd be interested if we heard rumour that Alonso was being readied for the job. Be interesting then to see if the narrative around the Salah situation would change if Alonso was coming in, or whether he just feels it's the right time, maybe with Cristiano Ronaldo departing the Saudi Pro League. It's time for Salah to go in there and be the guy. I don't know. Lucas Badham said, sell Salah over Gakpo. Gakpo still youngish. Yeah, I think that's the sensible answer, because you will still get a good fee in a year's time for Cody Gakpo, whereas you won't with Mohamed Salah. He'll be gone in a year's time, and yeah, so I think Salah's the right answer, as much as it almost feels wrong to click on the button for Salah, to say I'd sell Salah over Gakpo. Just even saying those words out loud just feels wrong, doesn't it? Like, I'd sell Salah over Gakpo. It makes you feel weird saying it. Do you think trying Cody as a striker and Hugo on the left? I think I wouldn't be against Cody in a two-striker system, playing off the striker. But as a sole striker, I think he'd be too limited. Some attributes he has. He's decent aerially. He's certainly got a decent shot on him. But I just don't know if he'd have the creativity and the deft touches in and around the 18-yard box to really make it as a centre forward for us. So I would probably say in a one-off, a European away game or something, I'd understand it, but I wouldn't want it to be something we do regularly. Can Salah play as a playmaker? I mean, it's a fair question, Hacken, because we've seen others before, like Leo Messi, become a playmaker from deep. You've seen Ronaldo kind of go from a winger to a centre forward. So it's not at all unusual for a player in the latter stages of the career to reinvent themselves to a different position. I just don't think he could become a good enough playmaker that he'd be better than the likes of Szoboszlai or other central midfielders that we'd have, or Wirtz or those type of players in the role. So I'd probably say for us, no. Jacko said, I doubt we'll get another 25 plus goal and assist season from Mo. Business wise, contract, wages, and age all says selling Mo's the smart call. I'd still sell both, to be honest. I'd sell both if we knew we had, like, let's say we knew we could get Michael Elise, just as an example. And if we sold Gakpo, sold Salah, we could get Elise and Diamonde. That I'd be all over. And I'd have very, very, very little fear about the future. Just don't want us to be in a position where we've got a lot of young wingers and not enough experience for some of those tricky European games that let's be honest, it can be difficult away from home in Europe at times to navigate and get a result. So I'd like to counteract that a little bit by having a bit more experience there. But if that was possible, like, could you imagine if we lost Salah and Gakpo and brought in Elise and Yandy Amonde? I mean, I'd take it. I'd absolutely take it. Nimrod said, in my opinion, Hugo should play left wing when Isak is fit. 4-4-2 doesn't fit a top club, and you can't leave one out of Isak and Ekitike when both are fit. Or you can't leave out one of Ekitike. I think you can leave out one of Ekitike and Isak occasionally. I can also understand why you'd want both on the pitch. I mean, if one had to drift into a wide position, I definitely feel Ekitike is more prone to it. But today, in the preview for the game, I said I would have played Wirtz off the left today. Now, I know Wirtz wasn't able to play, but he wasn't in the original 11 to play on the left-hand side. Gakpo was. I still think today I would have put him on the left-hand side. Salah right and Ekitike through the middle, and then I would have put Gomez at right back, and the midfield trio would have been Szoboszlai, McAllister and Gravenberch. So these things always frighten me, mate, because I'm always reading these out thinking, when someone says, can you say hi to my friend, blah, blah, I always want to be, taken at face value. So I will say hello to Ilwad. And if that means something that I don't quite understand, then I guess the joke's on me. But if it doesn't, and he's a sincere, genuine person, then the warmest of regards, my friend. Holt Warning said, having Mo on is like playing with 10 men, painful to watch. Do I think Arsenal will win the league? I don't know. I think City will win it now. That result today was what I expected. Not as convincingly, but I did expect Arsenal to get the win. But looking at the fixtures, Sky had the graphic up earlier on with them. It feels like Manchester City's next 3 or 4 games are very, very winnable for them. Like, you would expect them to take 9 points from the next 3 games. Arsenal, a little bit trickier. So, no, I think Manchester City will win it. Ironically, those 3 games I'm talking about lead up to the League Cup final, where, of course, they face each other. And it'd be very interesting to see, let's say, if Manchester City win the League Cup, what knock-on impact that would have on Arsenal's psyche for the rest of the season. Because if Arsenal won the League Cup, somewhat feel like some of the pressure's off. You've achieved something already this season. But if they lost the League Cup final and they started to fall down in the league, then the pressure really ramps up. And we know how quickly the idea of running for a quadruple can dissipate in a matter of weeks. So, it'd be an interesting one. Peter Lawrence said, still think a DM signing is vital. Physical, nasty and a good engine. Releasing Graf to play his proper game. Sean said, how are you all today? Not too bad, Sean, thank you. Hope you're well, sir. Right, let me talk about what you've just said there, actually. So, on the DM, Moby Hake, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know if you have an X account, he said, Elliot Anderson today, 77 minutes played, 19 defensive contributions, 12 ball recoveries, 3 tackles won, 3 clearances. He is the one we should target this summer. Now, there's been a bit of a debate in the chat here over the last few weeks about what number 6 we should look at this summer. I think Wharton is more gettable for us. But I think I am on the side of Keane and a few others who think that Anderson is the more well-rounded player. If they were both available right now, I would probably go for Anderson over Wharton. I'd be more than happy if Wharton comes in, but I think I've been convinced that Anderson is a better aggressor, for want of a better term. Do I think Slot should go? At this moment in time, I do, Sean. Yes, I do. In the summer, I think he should go. But if he pulls a Champions League win out of his backside, you can't sack a manager that wins a Champions League. You can't. If he gets us to third place, wins the FA Cup, but there's a clear indication that we're playing better football and it's coming together, I'm open to that as well. But today is another one that goes in the frustration column. We won the game and I'm very happy we did, but it was an awful performance. And that's worrying when you've had 8 days to prepare for it. And that was the opening 45 minutes. Now, I gather, it's not all on the manager all the time. Players have to go out there and perform. But you also can't ignore that maybe a manager's words aren't inspiring them, or maybe the instructions aren't clear enough, or maybe they just don't want to take on the instruction. Something just still, to me, doesn't feel right at the club. And I think there is a divide in the dressing room where some probably do believe in Arna's methods, but I get the feeling that others may be a little bit less convinced. Jaden said, need one more history or heartbreak. It's do or die for Liverpool. Messi mashed on Merseyside, Anfield night. If we face current Barca in the Champions League, who'd win? The current Barca? It depends what version of us turned up. It's a tough one because there's no denying there's talent in that Barca team, but there's also no denying that they're defensively suspect and that high line is there to be exploited. If we play to our best, I think we beat them. But my gut instinct right now would be to say we'd go out over 2 legs because I'm unsure of which Liverpool shows up. I think the fact that the final is going to be in Budapest and we've got 2 Hungarian players in our team, I really feel like they're going to try and move heaven and earth to be in the Champions League final this year. To make up for the disappointment that they felt, obviously, not qualifying for the World Cup. So, that's maybe, I don't know if saying lulling me into a false sense of security or give me a bit more hope that perhaps we can grind out something special. Maybe they play this way out of spite. Look, again, it's hard to know. I don't know these players individually, never met them, don't speak to them, don't know what the vibe is and around the club, but I can't help but feel something doesn't feel right. It doesn't. And I don't know if I'm on my own in that, but Liverpool right now don't pass the smell test for me. Something just feels a little bit off about it. World of Naturalist said Anderson has less injury concern, but his price will be way too high knowing Forest, unless they get relegated. If they got relegated, I'm sure it will still be a hefty fee, but it would be a more achievable one, I would imagine. Callum said, Craig, would you drop Salah? I don't think we can play both of them. I'd probably be more mindful to drop Gakpo and put Rio in. So, if I was doing my front line for West Ham now, I'd probably have Gakpo on the bench, Rio left, Salah right, Ekitike through the middle. That's probably what I'd do right now. And I say that knowing and admitting that Salah didn't do well today. But I think if I had to pick one to drop, I'd rather see Rio out there and I'd rather probably see Salah play. Because I don't think we have the option to drop both. Realistically, I don't think that Fede's going to come in and be much better. So I think Rio can replace one of them. Whether you want that to be on the right or left, I guess that's up to you, but that's my thinking on it anyway. Jaden said, was also thinking about it. Matip was a semi-pillar. Matip was great. Again, think about this, Jaden. A free transfer for Liverpool as well. Absolutely incredible. What value we got out of Joel Matip as a free signing. Certainly do miss that he's not around. Loved Joel Matip. Oliver said, if Arna holds his team talks like his press conferences, 100% the players are confused. I was saying to you before, Oliver, that I watched, I think it was his Feyenoord Feyenoord dressing room speech after they beat Ajax. And it was hailed as this wonderful, inspirational speech. And I watched it and I just went, eh. And this was when he was coming into us. Like, this is when he was just about to become Liverpool manager. I remember thinking, I wouldn't be inspired by that. It was okay, but I know Arna was annoyed by by Wayne Rooney's comments about the kind of lack of aura or presence about him. But I don't think Rooney's wrong. And people might say, but Arna's a nice, good, tactical coach, respectable guy, honest guy, all this type of stuff. I get that. But sometimes you need a bit of bastard in you. Sometimes you need to have that presence or fear factor. And I just don't think Arna has that. Like, I can't imagine going into a dressing room after a poor performance and being worried about what I'm going to hear from him. Well, with Jurgen, I honestly feel like if he criticised me, I'd want to do better for him. Genuinely. Like, I'd want to prove him wrong, but I'd want to do better for him. I just don't get that same level of authority from Arna. I also saw today players holding back on attacking. Well, sometimes that could be under instruction, although I can't see how that would have applied today, because there was no reason to hold back from attacking. I've seen it before when we've gone ahead in games, all right, that he's tried to protect the ball, but today there should have been no reason to back off attacking. Would you start Rio over Salah for West Ham? I'd probably start him over Gakpo, to be honest. Would you take Gordon at Liverpool, Craig? I would for the right money. I think Anthony Gordon's a 65, 70 million quid player, not a 95 million pound player like some of the price tags that have been doing the rounds. But I am somebody that does like Anthony Gordon as a footballer. I don't think he's the finished product, but I think there's a lot there to work with. Kev said, Craig, the difference already between Slot and Klopp. If we had an 8-day gap, Klopp would have a friendly game set up to keep the lads on top form. Instead, just do a few training sessions. And he gave them a few days off, which again, I don't mind. I don't mind players having a couple of days off and an 8-day break. But I do expect a response when they come back. To start the game like we did today. If you were a neutral who was just dropped in from outer space and you were told that one of these teams played away in Turkey, had to travel over on Thursday night and come back and play again on Sunday, and the other one didn't, you never would have guessed that Liverpool were the team that didn't have to play. Forest looked the fresher. They looked the more zoned in. They looked the more aggressive. They looked the more confident in that first 45 minutes. And they were away in Fenerbahce on Thursday night. Itachi said, you're in the summer and have all the money. Pick 3 players to come in and 3 players to leave. Players to come in and have all the money. Elise, Anderson. I can't really answer the question fairly without knowing the Canade situation, because if we need a centre-back, then my answer would be a centre-back. But let's say he signs, I'd probably say Elise. I don't know enough about Diamonde to feel comfortable saying Yan Diamonde, although everybody else seems to really rate him. Okay, I've got an answer for you. I'm going to say I think we could bring in Anthony Robinson to give Costas cover and challenge on the left-hand side if Robbo leaves. But that would cost probably 35 or 40 million quid. So with all the money in the world, like you said, I'd probably do that. Then I bring in Elise, and then I bring in a number 6. Whoever the best number 6 we can get is. Elliot Anderson at this moment in time would probably come to my mind. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. We need 1 or 2 wide players and a 6. Although I said on the left side, I'd go for Anthony Robinson, but I'd be absolutely fine giving Robbo another year's contract if he was happy to stay as well. It seems like the more rest we get, the worse we are, said Gerard Kelly. I think this isn't an Arna thing, though. I think we've been like that for a while. I used to feel that way under Jurgen. Whenever we had a mid-season break or something like that, my memory is that the results afterwards were always shocking. Can we get Bastoni with Van de Ven and Camavinga? I doubt it. I doubt you'd have a summer where you could get the three of those in. Um, I wonder, will Bastoni get fed up over in Serie A? Because it looks like Inter are going to win the title again this year. They're not going to win the Champions League. I think that team needs a bit of a refresh, and I don't know if they have the money for it. So if Bastoni's ever available, I certainly hope we're in the mix. Schlotterbeck, there was actually a piece on today from AS over in Spain that said Real Madrid are advancing in talks to sign Nico Schlotterbeck this summer and are increasingly confident of getting a deal over the line. However, Barcelona have not ruled out making a rival move for the Borussia Dortmund centre-back, meaning Los Blancos could yet face competition for his signature. Did you see this piece in Bild about Luis Diaz? They said Luis Diaz has a language clause that requires him to study German at Bayern Munich. He has 2 to 3 weekly sessions and is internally evaluated to demonstrate his progress. If he doesn't comply, the club can financially sanction him by deducting between 5 and 50,000 euro from his salary. That's an interesting one. How do you go about enforcing that one? Like, what if somebody's just genuinely, and I'm not saying Diaz is, but what if someone's genuinely just not very bright with regards to picking up a language, and it isn't through a lack of effort, but they just can't pick it up? It'd be a tough one. You'd have to really know that he's not putting in any effort before you could ever look at enforcing that. Did you see Ibu do a cartwheel after the goal? I did, yeah. It was the goal that was ruled out, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But I did. Somebody on X, I think, posted it, and then one of the lads in our Discord posted the clip of it, and yeah, it was funny seeing Ibu do a cartwheel. All right. So don't forget, we do have a poll question running. We've about 20 minutes left on tonight's stream. We're asking, which one would you sell this summer if we were only selling one of them, Mohamed Salah or Cody Gakpo? What did Salah do in the match I didn't watch? Well, not much. I think you mean the reason why people are unhappy with him. He was substituted, and before he came off the pitch, he kind of had a surprised smile, smirk on his face. And then when he was on the bench, he carried on with the smirk. Somebody mentioned something about the way he left the pitch, but I didn't actually see that, so I can't comment on it. But somebody said Arne wanted him to get off the pitch quicker and he was walking slowly. But I can't say I seen that, so I don't know. Gary said Szoboszlai must play in midfield. Jones just got caught in possession all the time. I agree. Absolutely. You know, Gomez should have started that game at right back for me, and Szoboszlai put into his more natural midfield position. L Dodge 11 said we need 3 centre backs and a DM to replace Verge, Ibu, Gomez, and Gravenberch. I wouldn't sell Ryan Gravenberch. I wouldn't, not at all. I would just move him into a number 8 position rather than having him as the deeper line player. I wouldn't get rid of him. Maka or Jones would be the ones that I'd be looking at if I was to move a player on. And the only reason I'm even bringing Jones into the equation is because he's got one contract, 1 year left in his contract at the end of this season, and you know you don't want to lose him on a free. So if you can't come to an agreement with him, you know you're probably forced into looking at selling. Johnny said, Craig, on Ibu, do you think he was playing poorly because of family issues on top of Jota would play in anyone's head? Yeah, it's a tough one, Johnny. I don't know is the answer, but let me just give you 2 different answers. If his father had an illness that we didn't know about, I promise you this, if I knew his father was unwell And I don't know if he was or wasn't. Obviously, we knew he passed away. But if his dad was unwell, I never would open my mouth about his performances. Never. I would not do that if I knew somebody was under that emotional stress. The reason I was so frustrated with Canade was because his performances were shocking. And I put it down to the contract situation kind of getting in his head. Because we've heard before from Salah and Virgil that it was getting in their heads. So if I had had any indication that maybe something was wrong with his dad, I never would have opened my mouth about criticising him. But to get back to your question, absolutely. You know, if his dad was unwell or anything like that, of course, you know, your family are the most important thing in the world. So I would understand any player having a drop off in form. And I would even understand a player needing time off, like prolonged time off in those periods, because your mental health and it's important. So truth is, I don't know if it was a sudden passing for his dad or if he had an illness. I really don't know the answer to it. But what I think can all agree on is he's been really good lately. And it's good to see. Whatever the reason for, I don't know. But it's good to see. Paddy Wacker said, Craig, I totally understood your reasoning for Salah to be sold. My heart will rule my head. Can't agree. I'd have to have Gakpo go. And I get that as well, mate. I do. I guess it comes down to asking, do we think Salah can get back to really add it into the team? Or is his presence, or maybe his, what's the phrase I'm looking for? His easing out of the team going to become a problem? And what we don't want is it to become a problem in the dressing room. If Ibu renews, he needs to redo his announcement. Yeah, that was an incredible announcement video with all of his mates whipping up in the Golf GTI. Yeah, that was an incredible video. If you had to sell 3 players, who would you sell? I think we could do with losing a central midfielder. Whether that's Maka or Jones, I think we could do with losing a central midfielder. Endo, I would sell, obviously, because I'd want us to bring in another DM. I'd sell Costas. I'm trying to give you fair answers and not easy answers, though. If Salah was open to it, I would probably sell Salah this summer. I would. Especially if Arna was staying on. Like, if Arna's staying on, I would definitely be saying sell Mohamed Salah in the summer. Because I just don't think he's going to get back to that level. But I don't know whether what we're seeing this season from Salah is to do with the manager or Father Time, or a mixture of both. Other than that, probably sell Joe Gomez. Because I think I agree with what we talked about yesterday, which was a report that said the club internally view this as a last chance to get a big transfer fee for Gomez. And I can kind of understand that. So it was from Caught Offside. They said there's an increasing likelihood that Joe Gomez departs Anfield in the summer, with Liverpool viewing this upcoming summer as the final big opportunity to secure a substantial transfer fee. That I kind of agree with. Craig, do you think Trent should play in the Legends game at Anfield? No, because he's still playing. You know, Legends have to be retired. Paul said, I spend a lot of time in Brazil and watching some of the young talent there. You see lanky centre-halves who are so gifted on the ball. Scouts. Yeah, it's one of my big gripes, Paul, is that we don't do enough in the South American market. Now, obviously, with Brexit, it's become a little bit more difficult to get players in, which is why I was so enthused by the idea of a feeder club or FSE buying another club, having the multi-club model, because it would give Liverpool the ability to get players off, the South American continent, bring them into Europe and maybe give them an introduction into a team in France or Spain or Portugal or wherever they bought the other team. And the reports, I'd let you say, Paul, you spend a lot of time over there and watch the players. Have you any input, mate, on Alan, the Palmeiras midfielder that Liverpool have been linked with? Because there's been a few reports over the last week, one in particular saying Liverpool are positioning themselves to secure priority in a deal for Palmeiras midfielder Alan in a deal that would see the 21-year-old move to Anfield after the World Cup. And it goes on to say the Brazilian is keen on the move. Just tuning in, have you spoken about Luis Diaz saying Arne Slot is a nasty man and that's why he left? I've not seen it, Mike. So I definitely haven't spoken about it because I haven't seen the comments. If anybody can point me to the comments, happy to read them out or discuss them. But hand on heart, Mike, I haven't seen them. You said might be why Mo wants out too. So yeah, genuinely, I'd be very intrigued to read those comments if they're legit, but I don't know anything about them. Craig, do you think Trent is a Liverpool legend? It's a fucking tough one. I mean, when all said and done, when we all calm down emotionally and when his career's over, I think yes. Right now, doesn't feel like it. If I still feel pretty bitter about the way he left. But I think with what he's won at Liverpool, 2 league titles, Champions League, FA Cups, League Cups, yeah, I think the answer is yes. Certainly much more so than Michael Owen, who I will never admit as a legend in my head. Craig, according to TalkSport, Alisson was seen telling Slot to change his tactics in the first half, which he obliged to. Speaks volumes, really does show a lack of authority. There's, again, I can't speak to that because I haven't heard or seen the TalkSport quote, but there was that time where Alisson didn't put the ball out when Arne wanted him to in a recent game. So we've done a search and none of us can seem to find those Luis Diaz quotes anywhere that you were talking about. So if you can point me to it, please do. But Keane and a few others have done a check and we can't find those quotes. So, still time to vote. We've got about 10 minutes left in tonight's stream. We're asking, which one would you sell if you were only selling one of them this summer? Salah or Cody Gakpo? Oh, there's me disappearing off screen again for a second. I'm back on. I'm magic. I can make myself disappear and come back at the blink of an eye. See that? There's another tool in my toolbox. I can become invisible. Craig, the Salah smirking thing is a normal cope thing he does. He does it when he misses chances, even done it when he lost the AFCON. Fair enough, yeah. I'm open to that, Coleman. I don't like it, but I'm open to it if it's something legitimately that he does. But I don't know. It just felt frustrating. But I appreciate your input. I do. Thank you. Trent is not and never will be a Liverpool legend. A legend dedicates best years to the club. He doesn't plan behind the club's back for a move away from Trent. No thanks, not for me. That's why I said when Father Time has caught up with him and his career's over and we've all maybe looked back at it a bit. I mean, the word legend is open to interpretation. I guess it is in the eye of the beholder, right? Whatever you want it to be, it is. You can look at it from what he achieved at the club, and from what he achieved at the club, you'd put him up there with the greats of Liverpool's eras that have won league titles, European Cups. I think anybody in that kind of category deserves to be spoken about fondly. But I do, of course, understand your anger towards him with the situation, the way you went about the move. It felt slimy and greasy. So I totally get where you're coming from. And I feel like this is a question I would rather have a Scouser answer. Because there's a lot of things I will say, all fans are 11 on. But sometimes one of your own, one of yours from your city doing that, it does maybe cut a bit deeper for actual born and bred Scousers. Because I certainly know from an Irish or Dublin perspective, I would probably have stronger feelings on certain things than a lot of other people. Craig, another question for you. Thank you for replying to my other one. If don't mind, if we finish third, win the Champions League and FA Cup, does he save his job? Even just winning the Champions League saves his job. For me, no matter where else he comes in the league, if he wins the Champions League, you're back in the Champions League and you've won it, and that saves your job. So for me, just that alone, you couldn't sack him. I still would be doubting his longevity and his ability, but I think, to be fair to somebody, how could you sack somebody if they win the Premier League in their first year and the European Cup in their second year? But then again, I'll counter that by saying that performance today ain't winning no Champions League. You know, you're not going to win a Champions League playing like we did away today at Forest. No, not a chance. Besides Szoboszlai, which contract do you think needs to be completed before potential World Cup performance? Gravenberch, probably. You know, I always look to the players who are young and going to the World Cup. Szoboszlai obviously not going to go to the World Cup, nor will Kerkez. I'd like to get Gravenberch's contract sorted out. Maka, again, I'm open to losing one of Maka and Jones. I just don't know which one it will be. I'm trying to think of other ones. I'd like to have Robbo's situation sorted out before the World Cup to know whether we are going to say, and I feel like we will know by the end of the season what Robbo's going to do, whether he's going to, move elsewhere or extend, because obviously he absolutely deserves a proper and long goodbye. Alisson, I don't think there's going to be another contract extension there. Either way, I honestly don't. I think, my head, Alisson goes back to Brazil in 2027 and goes back to International. That's what I guess happens. So I've got the transcript from the TalkSport thing, and it was Gray said, "Well, Sam, there was a really interesting moment in the game. I've never seen it before, where Alisson actually ran across to the manager, Arne Slot, and told him to change the system. Now, a goalkeeper telling a manager that a manager would push him away and say, look, I'll sort this side of things. I'm the coach. I'll sort things out. But from that's when Szoboszlai came into midfield, and that's when Curtis Jones went to right wing back position. They just couldn't get out." Interesting. Certainly, it's fucking alarming if our goalkeeper's seeing stuff that our coach isn't seeing. That's definitely an alarming one. Craig, we can't afford to lose more first team players this summer. Do you think Robbo signs with Celtic? I think he'd love to, but could Celtic pay him a wage that he'd be happy with? That I don't know the answer to, but I seen him. He was up at Celtic Park for the Europa League game during the week, and I'm sure he'd love to go up and play with Celtic again. I just don't know if they could afford it. I think long days between games causes our decline. It's weird though, isn't it? Because for a lot of the season we talk about players being overplayed and fatigue and all that kind of stuff, and here we do have a chance to give them a bit of a rest, but you're not the first and you won't be the last. And I agree to say that staying in that rhythm seems to be better for us than having all that time between games. And also, do Celtic need Robbo unless they want to play him at centre back? I think I seen Keane talking about this the other day. They have Kieran Tierney and some others there, so I don't watch Scottish football, so I have no idea what type of strength and depth Celtic have. Okie doke. Right, folks, we're heading towards 1,500 votes. We've about 80 more to go, and then we'll call the vote. Which one would you sell this summer if you were only selling one of them? And the two options, Mohamed Salah or Cody Gakpo. The reason that we're saying you could only sell one of them, by the way, is the idea of losing two senior wingers in one transfer window to replace them with two youngsters feels like a little bit too much for one window. So for me personally, I think you need to stagger it if you're going to change the two wingers. One this summer and then one the following summer. So that's my take on the situation with the wingers. I think it's too much risk to do 2 in one window, unless you could bring in somebody like a Michael Elise. I'd sell Salah for 25 million now. Do you agree? No, I'd want more than that. Especially if he's going to the Saudi Pro League. I would. I'd want 30 to 50. Genuinely, I would. Paddy Wacker said, Craig, here's where I'm with Slot. He's a lovely, decent man. I'm pretty sure he's a good manager. His decency won't ever leave him. But for Liverpool manager, sorry, it's too big for Slot. I just don't think he has the aura. And, you know, Arna popped back by saying to Rooney he's won the Premier League. Fair enough, you have, but I still don't think he has the aura. I don't. I just don't think he has the factor about him that, you know, can both inspire and put the fear of God into the changing room. We changed 3 last summer, no big deal. And how's that gotten on for us this year, mate? You know, we haven't exactly been great in wide areas this year, so the changing of 3 wingers, which I don't think we did last summer, has hardly been a glowing success, whatever changes they were in wide areas. Do we know how long Wirtz is out? It doesn't look like he'll be missing any more games, thankfully. It felt like it was just a twinge or something in his back, and at least the belief is that he'll be back for the game against West Ham. Fingers crossed. Craig, are you still confident with this squad we can win the Champions League? I don't remember ever saying I was confident we'll win the Champions League this season. Before the season, perhaps. But as the season's unfolded, I've never once said I'm confident we'll win the Champions League, because if there's one thing I've consistently said on this channel over the years, even in the best of times, is I don't think I can ever confidently predict we win a Champions League, or anybody to come in a Champions League, because it's a competition that requires a little bit of luck in it. Jordan said 3 forwards, obviously they need to go, both Mo and Cody. I mean, we've had some varying degrees of success though, mate, because we haven't really got to see Isak, so we've kind of been a little bit hampered with only 1 striker for most of the season. So, look, Wirtz, absolutely no argument. Ekatike, no argument. And who knows, maybe if Isak could have stayed fit, absolutely. But I just think we need experience as well. And if you're to move on 2 very experienced players in wide areas and bring in 2 kids, I just have concerns about it. Right, 15 more votes to go. Just sell Salah. From a business point of view, it makes more sense than Gakpo. Gakpo will hold value longer. Mo is playing poorly, selling while there's still value. That was my point, mate. Yeah, I said the same thing. Cody signed a new contract last year. He has more time on his contract, and there's less of a rush to look to sell him. So I agree with you. I would sell Salah if I had to sell one of them this summer, for the very reasons you've spelled out. Right, I need a little favour from you guys before we start to wind down the stream. 1, don't forget to enter a giveaway. There is still 6 days to go in February. We're giving away a signed item every single month throughout 2026 with thanks to our friends at thecollectorscorner.co.uk. Scan the QR code there on the screen. That will bring you to the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp, where you'll see all the information on how to enter a giveaway. And if you'd like to get yourself 20% off as well, at thecollectorscorner.co.uk, use our discount code AnfieldAgenda1. Also, if I could ask you a quick favour before we finish up, do drop a like on the stream for me before you head off. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, we'd love you to do that as well. Tomorrow, Connor will be back at 10 a.m. with his early morning video. I'll be here for an early evening video, and then of course I'll be here with you guys for the late night agenda tomorrow night. Probably started at 9 o'clock. Give everybody time to watch some of the Everton-Manchester United game, and then jump on at 9, and we'll take it from there. So, Sean said, you're so good at YouTube. Thank you, bro. Really appreciate that. I've got plenty of practice, you know. I wasn't always as comfortable doing it as I am now, you know. First few years, I was way more lethargic and pretty fucking boring, to be honest with you, mate. Right. So, we've got over 1,500 votes, and with 56% of the vote, this summer you guys would just about sell Mohamed Salah over Cody Gakpo. I will bid you all good night. Thank you so much for a really enjoyable stream this evening. I had a really good time chatting with you all and hearing all of your perspectives on the Reds. Hopefully see you back here soon. I'll certainly be here tomorrow night, but until then, have a wonderful Sunday evening. Much love to you all. Stay safe.